could have said, here's Bob, he's a lawyer from Toronto. I was hoping you'd say, here's the OG, Bobby T. But we didn't know each other back in the day. Good morning, and congratulations to all of the graduates. I am honored to be here to address you and your families and your special friends today. But before we get started, I'd like you to help me with something. Back in the day, when I went to law school, that was shortly after the Punic Wars, we used to say that in first year they tried to scare you to death, and second year they tried to work you to death, and the third year they tried to bore you to death. Can you let me know, is that still a true statement today? Can I put your hands together if you agree with that statement? Remember, you've got your degrees now, right? So they can't touch you. It's good to know that some things are immutable. I am here because I have had the good fortune to live a dream that a lot of us had when we were in your shoes. And that dream was of founding a firm with some of my best pals from law school. I met my partner, John Finnigan, on the first day of class in September of 1979. It was in Professor Hunter's small group torts class. The professor came in. He was a tall man with an intimidating militaristic bearing, and as he sat down, he barked at us, "What's a tort?" Most of us decided that was an opportune moment to check our shoelaces. I knew, of course, that a tort was a civil wrong other than a breach of contract for which the law would provide a remedy. I mean, who didn't know that on day one? But I didn't want to show off. But one brave soul in our class, by the name of David Brennan, ventured that a tort might be a small, sweet pastry. Now, it says something about our class that Dave went on to become the Legal Society president. But seriously, our class did have its challenges. After the Christmas exams in first year, you remember those exams, they're the 5 or 6 exams you write over 2 weeks and people tell you it's going to define your entire legal career, those exams. So, first day back in the new year, Professor Rayner came in, he taught us property law. And he looked perplexed and was a little disheveled. And he told us he had just marked our papers. And he said that either he had suddenly lost the ability to teach, or that we were the stupidest class the Western had ever been. Now Professor Hunter's shtick was a gimmick that I'm sure he used to frighten the children every year. But Professor Rayner looked sincere, which, truth to tell, knocked us all a bit off our rockers. But we muddled through. And I'm here today to share with you some things that I wish someone had told me at my graduation ceremony. I'm going to tell you 3 stories and give you 1 demonstration. The first story should help you become successful. The second story should help you be happy. And the third story should help you become extraordinary. And I'll end with a demonstration that may help you remember these stories in the future. Because quite frankly, I've done a survey, nobody ever remembers what the honored speaker said at their graduation. So it's a low bar for me to get over today. So let's first address success. To be successful, you only ever need 2 things. 1 is a good idea, and 2 is the gumption to make that idea a reality. Now, in this day and age, there are a lot of good ideas floating out there. But gumption is still in short supply. Sure, everyone has a side hustle now, and I applaud this generation for that wholesale change in attitude, which was rare in my day. But do you have what it truly takes to fully commit to an idea and make it a reality? T.S. Eliot said in The Hollow Men that between conception and reality lies the shadow. Others have said that a cocked eyebrow is the place where a good idea goes to die. So it's still very hard to put all of your real life chips, your family's future, your mortgage payments, into one concept, to have the guts to go all in on an idea that you created out of your own mind. My one good idea was to create a boutique restructuring firm called TGF. I left the comfort of being a partner at a Seven Sister Bay Street law firm, where I could have coasted to a nice life, and instead my two partners and I jumped out into the world and hung up our own shingle. Today, TGF is the single largest practice group in restructuring law in the country, and is a recognized powerhouse in the area by those in the know. I have to digress for a minute here to do an infomercial for restructuring law. Most of you likely don't know anything about it. I didn't when I was in your shoes, and now I'm the senior dean of the practice group in the country. And those of you who do know something about it may ask, aren't they the janitors who, of the commercial world who clean up the failed business trash? Yeah, that's not right. Rich McLaren once told me that restructuring law was the last true practice area where you could actually live up to your billing as being both a barrister and a solicitor. And he was right. It is a fast-paced, dynamic practice area that demands multi-dimensional, asymmetric problem solving in real time, where you're trying to do good things like save jobs and enhance and realize value. What I'm saying is, it ain't boring. And I gotta level with you. A lot of law is boring. I hope someone's already told you that, because you're a little deluded to turn around now. Furthermore, given all our frailties as humans, among them greed, hubris, incompetence, and the penchant for the odd bit of piracy, set against the backdrop of a world with increasing chaos, all of that means that restructuring law is a growth business. Get in while the getting's good. But coming back to my theme, the bottom line is if you want to be successful, whatever you want to do, you must summon up the courage to believe in yourself and commit to your good idea. And if it doesn't work, you know how to get in touch. It's restructuring paper joke. That's not working. Second, some advice on how to be happy. One evening over dinner, I said to my wife of now 36 years, Sharon, a banking partner at Stipends, darling, I've been giving this a lot of thought, and I have some advice for you on how to be happy. What's that? She said. And I said, embrace imperfection. And she immediately replied, oh my God, that's brilliant. She said, all my life I've tried to be perfect, tried to be the perfect student, the perfect lawyer, the perfect partner, the perfect wife, the perfect mother. I should just lighten up on myself and be happier. And then she noticed a strange look on my face. What is it? She asked. I said, I wasn't finished. And she said, what were you going to say? She asked. And I said, I was going to say, embrace imperfection in others. Particularly me. See, my wife holds those dear to her own very high standards. In my case, it's called the first date standard. Whenever I do anything offside or off color, she gives me a withering look and asks, would you have done that on our first date? So if you want to be happy, be prepared to embrace imperfection, whether in yourself, your others, or both, your call. But now, how does one become extraordinary? I'm going to illustrate this with a story I haven't told anyone before because it's so embarrassing. Back in the day, we had an internal moot competition only open to second and third year students. My partner John Finnigan and I decided to be moot partners in our second year. And back then, you advanced or did not advance as a team. We did not advance. We did not get out of the first round. So John was shocked, and I was horrified when he won the moot as the best oralist in the entire competition. And everyone then knew why we didn't get out of the first round. It's because I sucked. It was such a bad outcome that they changed the rule of the moot competition the next year to judge everybody individually and not as a team. I don't know if they called it the Thornton rule back behind the doors where they made the decision, but they could have. So why am I telling you this? After all these years, why am I burying my soul in something I'd rather have buried? Well, I'm telling you because I refuse to let that mortifyingly embarrassing moment define me. I didn't change my goal of becoming a litigator. I just worked hard at improving my advocacy skills. On your feet advocacy, by the way, is a core competence of restructuring practice. Here's the secret. We get into court more often than the real litigators do. That's something they don't tell you in your interviews, but that's true. And as you know, I'm pleased to see that Benchmark honored me by declaring me the Insolvency Litigator of the Year. It's a little third-party validation 40 years later. But that was not the high water mark of my litigation career thus far. That highlight came on my second trip to the Supreme Court of Canada, which is on the Abitibi matter, where we discussed the intersection of insolvency law and environmental law. Our lead lawyer, now Justice Dunphy, got knocked off his balance a bit by the panel, and I had to make a game time decision. As I grabbed the podium, I decided to abandon the carefully crafted argument that I had worked on for weeks. Instead, I said to the justices, I have submitted my plan of argument to you and I commend it to you for your reading. But I think my time here would be best spent answering the questions you just posed to my friend. A few of the justices nodded somberly as if to say, do you think? I then had a very focused and intense conversation with the court. As I exited the chamber out of those big, beautiful oak doors at the back, I turned my phone on. And as the first message that popped up in the doorway was from my daughter, who had watched the proceedings on C-SPAN from her dorm at McGill where she was studying business. And the message simply said, way to go, Daddy. The second message was from Sharon, who said, that was so great, even the dog thought you did a good job. My wish for you all is to experience moments like those in your careers. So my advice to those of you who wish to become extraordinary is to be like fine wine. Get better with age and never stop improving. And now for the promised demonstration. Is there anyone here afraid of water? No? I'm not going to ruin anybody's makeup. I am going to pour drops of water on this thing. And a little circle. And I'm going to ask the grads, can somebody tell me what the profile of this drop of water is? And as you know what a profile is, it's a side view, right? What does it look like from the side? I said nobody's afraid of a drop of water. All right. Some hints. Is it rough or smooth? Flat or bumpy? Flat? You're flat? Put your hands up for flat? That's a great answer. That's a really good answer. It's wrong, but it's a really good answer. be a better answer. Because you see, it's only flat in the middle. And at the edges, it's bent, it's curved. Because if the physics they taught you in high school applied, this wouldn't be a little puddle of water here on the table. It would be a thin film, exactly 1 molecule deep, that would probably cover this entire stage. But what they don't teach you in high school physics are the other forces that are alive in the world. And what's happening here is that the forces of surface tension and friction are up against the most immense force in the universe, gravity. And they're fighting it to a draw right here on this table. And at that curved edge is what some people call the chaotic interface, where chaos and order meet and do battle. And it's also an allegory for your life in the law and beyond the law. Do you want to stay in the flat, safe, calm middle? Or do you want to push yourself out to that edge, out to that chaotic interface, where dynamism and creativity are at the center of all things? So, it's your choice where you want to live. You can follow precedent and do what others have done, stay in the middle. Or you can go out to the edge, do new things, create new precedents, and do what's never been done before. So the next time you see that little puddle of water, ask yourself, what am I doing? And what do I want to be doing? Am I being ordinary? Do I have the gumption to be extraordinary? So, as you head out into the world, remember these things. First, if you want to be successful, have the courage to bring your good ideas to life. Second, if you want to be happy, embrace imperfection in yourself and others. And third, if you want to be extraordinary, never stop improving. And then above all, remember what life lessons there may be in a thing as simple as a few drops of water. Good luck to you all.